I am firmly convinced that the salvation of the state of Maine is we should invite as many refugees and immigrants into the state of Maine as possible. Case in point, if you've read any of the articles in the Bangor Daily News over the last 6 months about farmers who are too old to farm anymore and they're scared to death that farm is going to be turned into subdivisions or something like that, I guarantee you there are probably 10,000 Somali immigrants who on a sharecroppers or a piecework basis some of those farms here in the state of Maine. 10 years from now, we're going to be caught in the ultimate catch-22. There will be no jobs because there will be no workers. There'll be no workers because there are no jobs. We've got to bite the bullet. We've got to recognize that maybe we need to subsidize immigrants in the state of Maine, educate them, make them feel comfortable, get comfortable with their ethnic differences, get them a decent education, put them in some of the houses. I live in Heartland. There's probably 40 houses in Heartland right now that are vacant or for sale or are falling down. I'd like to see people in there who speak different languages.
Write this down.
Ellen, green cards. Put up your green card if you agree.
Yeah, put up your green card.
If you agree.
That's a great point. Exactly. I mean, I totally agree with everything you said. I mean, we have student population decline in our public schools. That's another place where we're seeing the challenge in some rural communities. I just got word there another school's probably going to close up in Aroostook County because there's not enough students. We're seeing that. And I would just say, I think that we've seen, to put it back on Poliquin, it's a question of trade policy in some regards. I mean, that's the one thing Donald Trump said that I really liked was let's rip up NAFTA. Because in this state, 10 years ago, we had 28 paper mills. Today we have 8 paper mills. And those used to be middle-class jobs. And now that's being replaced by a service sector economy that is paying minimum wage, where if you work at Walmart, you're probably going to rely on the state for your health care and for food assistance. And so there has to be, at some point, there has to be a conversation about that as well. Increases, the most regressive form of taxation on the books. And people in November, I was so proud, they stood up and they said, we've got a better way. We're not going to continue to underfund our schools. We're not going to continue to cut programs for our kids and cut teachers. We've got a different way. We're going to ask the wealthy to pay just a little bit more. 3% on the income that you make over $200,000. Let's put it in perspective. Someone making $300,000 is going to pay $3,000 more for our public schools in Maine. I think that's a good investment. I think you're counting on Maine. But as you alluded to, or as you said, these days, after you win a ballot initiative, you have to have another campaign to get the politicians to do what the voters told them to do. And that's what we're in right now. Right now in Augusta, there are 5 bills to repeal the will of the voters. 5 separate bills. 4 of them by Republicans, and 1 of them, sadly, by a Democrat. Who are saying that they didn't hear you in November. No matter that 384,000 people told them this is the way, more people voted for question 2 than voted for Hillary Clinton. Did you know that? Or voted for Donald Trump? Or ever voted for Paul LePage. 383,000 people voted for question 2. Paul LePage, in 2014, he only got 290,000 votes. We got almost 100,000 more votes. But I'm not done fighting for public schools. I hope none of you are done fighting for public schools, because it's going to take more than teachers to make sure our kids get what they need. It's going to take teachers, it's going to take parents, it's going to take school board members, it's going to take people who care about the future of this country standing up and putting our priorities where they should be, which is on the kids, on the future, and making sure every child, regardless of where they live, whether it's Falmouth or Farmington, gets a great, top-notch education right there in their community.
Betsy DeVoe,
Does that sound good?
Chairman. It's just seems fairly ridiculous. Secretary, right?
Absolutely. So charter, we have 9 charter schools in Maine, and I was just going to talk about Maine first. I mean, I think charter schools are a mixed bag of performance. There's no question. In Maine, we have 9. 2 of them are for-profit virtual charter schools. They're for-profit. The school is there to make money off of the education system. They're K-12 and Connections Academy. That to me is just anathema to what public education should be. Never should you operate a school and think, can I afford that additional textbook? It's cutting into our bottom line here, right? That shouldn't be what drives the public education discussion. But some politicians in Augusta found fit to approve 2 online, virtual, for-profit schools, and our money's going to those. There's 2. We just got the latest testing, and standardized testing is not a good measurement. But 2 of the charter schools are among the bottom 5 in the entire state in terms of performance. Even here, I know some people might like the Cornville charter, right, which is nearby, but I will say the Cornville charter is in the bottom 5 in terms of math and English performance in the entire state. So the whole idea behind charters was that they were going to somehow outperform our public schools. Well, guess what? Our public schools are outperforming these charters all over the state. Our public schools have more kids on free and reduced lunch and are doing better. Cornville, sadly, this is a fact, you can look it up in the Press Herald, 17% of the students are proficient in English. 17%.
But probably the thing that we're focusing on the most for the next several months is actually going to be some attacks to the Environmental Protection Agency. And there's a petition going around, and there's also one on the table over there, which you're welcome to sign. The cuts, the proposed cuts are about 30% of EPA's budget, and cutting about a quarter of their staff. And a lot of that money from EPA actually goes directly to states. So much like education, the environment has also been on the chopping block here in Maine under our governor. So DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, has been underfunded, staff are leaving without being replaced, and these cuts to the EPA, a lot of that money actually goes directly to our Department of Environmental Protection to make sure our water is clean, our air is clean, that they're able to do enforcement and testing to tell people when the beaches are safe or the clam flats are safe. So we're really concerned about that. There's about 100 staffers at DEP that are funded directly through the EPA, and a number of programs that get direct money. I mentioned a couple, so lake quality protection, making sure our lakes are safe, and the beaches are safe for people to be swimming, a bunch of air pollution issues, and of course Maine is we're at the tail of the nation, so now that, if the Clean Power Plant's on the chopping block and we're not telling states like Oklahoma that they have to clean up their power plants, we're getting all of that pollution. Air pollution doesn't know state boundaries. So those are some things that we're really worried about. Also, the new national monument that was just established last year. You might have heard in the news that Governor LePage is going down to DC to ask that that's rescinded. Both of our senators have come out basically saying that they think that that's a bad idea, and Representative Pingree has as well. Representative Poliquin kind of has not taken a position. So the one little glimmer of good news, because I always like to find some good news to share. It seems like my project is kind of the doom and gloom project. House Republicans in the House of Representatives, 17 of them have signed a climate resolution following Representative Stefanik from New York, and we're trying to get Representative Poliquin to sign on to that. So that's another